She informed me straight to my face that she and her closest male friend had booked a luxury hotel suite simply for an uninterrupted heart-to-heart. If you actually trusted me, you wouldn't instantly brand it as cheating. I looked her in the eye and answered, "You're completely correct. My jealousy is my own cross to bear." Then I hired a private investigator. When I projected the razor-sharp 4K recording of their heart-to-heart onto the massive dining room wall during her family's Christmas dinner, everything I had worked for over years collapsed into smoke within moments. I'm writing this because months later I'm still sifting through the ashes of what used to be my life. It all started with one sentence so far removed from common sense that I genuinely thought I was having a stroke. My girlfriend of 3 years, Grace, stood in the living room of the house I owned free and clear, holding a small overnight bag. She explained that her best male friend, Julian, was going through a complete emotional breakdown and needed someone who truly understood him. Up to that point, it almost sounded plausible in her version of reality anyway. What short-wired my brain was the follow-up. They had already reserved a suite downtown, overnight, just to talk without interruptions. I waited for the joke. It never came. I told her as calmly as I could that no woman in a serious relationship books a hotel room for the night with another man just to talk. That's not how the real world operates. That's when she dropped the line now permanently etched into my skull. She squared her shoulders, stared me down, and declared, "Julian and I booked a room so we could speak privately. If you possessed genuine trust, you wouldn't leap to calling it infidelity." The sheer audacity left me mute. She wasn't just disrespecting me. She was attempting to rewrite basic decency and paint me as the unbalanced one. I didn't yell, I didn't argue. Something cold and ancient stirred inside me. I met her stare and said, "You're right. My lack of trust has obviously been the real problem." A small, victorious smile tugged at her mouth. She believed she had finally broken me, that I was folding. She had no clue that I had just decided the trust itself was the issue, and I was about to remove it forever. A little context. Grace and I had been together 3 years. We lived in a house I bought and paid off long before she ever stepped foot in it. I'm a straightforward man. I built my trucking business from one truck and relentless grind. Boundaries are sacred to me. I don't play mind games, opposite-sex soulmates while in a committed relationship. Not in my world. Dishonesty, instant termination. When we first started dating, Grace insisted she was exactly the same. She claimed to hate drama and loved how solid and direct I was. She performed the role flawlessly, I'll give her that. The one red flag I foolishly overlooked was Julian, her college platonic brother. I never bought that story for a second. He was a smooth, trust fund prince who had never worked an honest day yet rotated luxury cars like socks. Around me, he wore a paper-thin veneer of politeness that barely concealed his contempt, as if I were the help who had accidentally married up. Grace's parents, especially her father, treated Julian like the son they always wanted. I was the working-class outsider who had somehow conned their daughter. The subtle disdain at every family event was suffocating. Early on, I set a firm boundary regarding Julian. No late-night calls, no one-on-one dinners, no questionable outings. She resisted fiercely at first, then swore she would honor it. I now know she simply became more discreet. This hotel episode wasn't a slip. It was a calculated push to see if I had finally been tamed. Her speech about my trust issues confirmed it. She didn't want an equal partner. She wanted a compliant wallet with a pulse. The moment she walked out with that overnight bag, I switched into mission mode. First call. A private investigator named Frank, former detective, ice-cold professional. I met him the next morning, gave him every detail, and told him I didn't want theories. I wanted courtroom-ready, high-definition evidence. I paid for a full week of surveillance and specifically asked for 4K video. He didn't flinch, just nodded like this was Tuesday. While Frank got to work, I conducted my own financial autopsy. We had a joint account for household expenses, but personal savings and investments were supposed to stay separate. 2 sleepless nights combing through statements uncovered a nauseating pattern. Grace had been skimming money for at least a year, padding grocery runs, inflating utility payments, then quietly funneling the surplus into a secret account. Small amounts at first, but it added up to well over $10,000 in the past 12 months alone. Then came the knockout blow. A few months earlier, Julian had torched another investment. Grace begged me to loan him money. I refused flat out. I wasn't funding a rich kid's gambling habit. We argued. I thought the matter was dead. It wasn't. I found multiple transfers from her hidden account directly into Julian's, $15,000 total. She hadn't just betrayed me. She had stolen from our future to rescue her true priority. Frank rang on day 3 with an update that froze my blood. He sent a secure link. The photos were crushing. Grace and Julian at a restaurant so exclusive she used to say we could never justify the bill, feeding each other dessert. Julian clasping a diamond tennis bracelet around her wrist inside a luxury jeweler. The two of them checking into the penthouse suite of a 5-star hotel. Frank confirmed he had coverage inside, and the main event was being captured. The next 7 days were agony. I had to pretend everything was normal. Grace came home glowing, raving about how she had been such a wonderful friend and how much lighter Julian felt. No mention of the bracelet now sparkling on her wrist. I smiled, told her I had done some serious reflection, and realized she was right. My insecurity was poisonous, and I was determined to change. She practically preened. Predictably, the victory tour began. Her mother phoned, practically beaming, saying how proud she was that I was finally growing up and accepting Grace's completely innocent, lifelong connection with Julian. Then came the ultimatum. Their grand annual Christmas dinner was approaching. Julian would naturally be there, and it would be the ideal moment for me to stand up in front of everyone and publicly apologize, especially to Julian, for my toxic possessiveness over the years. They didn't just want me humiliated, they wanted it on a silver platter with 30 witnesses. I told her I thought it was a wonderful plan, and I was eager to set things right. For the next few weeks, I moved like a shadow. I met my lawyer, confirmed the house was solely in my name, had eviction papers prepared and dated December 25th. I opened new accounts, redirected every dollar of business revenue, drained my legal share of joint savings, and canceled every shared credit card. A week before the dinner, Frank delivered the complete package on an encrypted drive. Full report, receipts, bracelet valuation, and 2 video files. I watched exactly 4 seconds of the hotel footage. It was plenty. Crystal clear. Undeniable. Christmas night came. We arrived at the palatial estate built to remind guests of their station. The whole clan was present, her arrogant father, her saccharine mother, and Julian holding court beside the fireplace like royalty. He shook my hand with that greasy grin and said he was relieved we could finally put the regrettable friction behind us. Dinner was pure performance art. I laughed in all the right places, praised the food, played the reformed boyfriend perfectly. Grace stayed attached to Julian's side, throwing me occasional glances of pure triumph. After the main course, her father stood for the traditional toast, waxing poetic about forgiveness, family, and personal growth. Then he turned to me, glass aloft, and a special toast to our future son-in-law for finally learning to trust our daughter's flawless character. The table burst into refined applause. I rose, smiling, and thanked him for his kindness. I said I was so moved that I had prepared a short holiday video montage as my gift to the family. An hour earlier, I had casually carried in a compact, yet powerful projector for showing the gifts slideshow later, and aimed it at the only bare wall in the dining room. Grace looked intrigued, her father looked pleased, expecting a sentimental photo compilation. I pressed play. First slide, the itemized receipt for the diamond bracelet price highlighted, a murmur of confusion. Next. Security footage of Julian fastening that exact bracelet on Grace's wrist while she smiled adoringly. Gasps. Then the restaurant clip, candlelight, intimacy, feeding each other dessert like teenagers. Grace turned the color of paper. I let the hotel footage run for a full 30 agonizing seconds. No sound necessary when the image is 4K. Grace's mother started sobbing openly. Her father's face went from crimson to violet. Julian looked ready to faint. I stopped the video. The silence was suffocating. I lifted my glass toward her father. To Grace's flawless character, I said quietly. Then I looked at Grace. You were absolutely right. My trust issues were the problem. Consider them resolved. I slid the eviction notice across the pristine tablecloth. You have 30 days to leave my house. I walked out while pandemonium erupted behind me, shrieks, cries, shattering glass. It was the most beautiful Christmas carol I'd ever heard. I drove home, blocked every contact associated with that family, and had every lock changed before midnight. The fallout was immediate. Grace bombarded me from burner numbers, hysterical voicemails I deleted without listening. Saturday morning, she showed up pounding on the door. I spoke through the doorbell camera. Everything would proceed on my timeline under supervision, according to the legal notice. She threatened police. I told her to go ahead and ended the call. Monday, her father's expensive law firm sent a furious letter accusing me of illegal surveillance, revenge porn, defamation, the full arsenal. They demanded I destroy all evidence and issue apologies or face ruin. I forwarded it to my attorney, Sam, a predator who feeds on entitled bullies. Sam laughed for a full minute, then drafted a response so devastating it belongs in a museum. He dismantled their claims point by point, then attached proof of Grace's systematic theft and the $15,000 she funneled to Julian. He concluded by inviting them to sue so he could countersue for fraud and parade both cheaters through sworn depositions. Dead silence within 48 hours. A week later, Grace's cousin Sarah, the only decent one in that circus, reached out. She had been at the dinner and was mortified. She filled me in on the glorious aftermath. Julian's family completely disowned him. His father's reputation couldn't survive the embarrassment. Julian vanished. Grace and her parents were now tearing each other apart. They blamed her for destroying the family name. She blamed them for forcing Julian on her since university. The house had become a battlefield. When moving day arrived, I had 2 off-duty officers present. Grace showed up with her mother. Both looked like shells. They packed in total silence. As Grace reached the door, she tried one final time, voice cracking. "I really did low. It's irrelevant now," I said, and shut the door. Last loose end. Julian's father received a courteous letter from my attorney outlining exactly how his son had received $15,000 of embezzled funds, complete with bank records. We suggested quiet repayment would keep the matter discreet. 2 weeks later, a cashier's check for the full amount arrived. No note, no apology. I sold the old house, too many memories. Bought a sharp new condo downtown, threw myself into the business, started training again, reconnected with genuine friends. Word is Grace fled to another state to crash with an aunt, trying to outrun the fallout. Julian remains toxic in every circle that once welcomed him. Her parents' invitations have evaporated. In those circles, scandal spreads like wildfire. They wanted a show. I delivered a masterpiece they will never unsee.